Hello, Helen. How are you?
Hello. Oh,
Welcome to the
Monica.
space.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
good. It's so good to have you here, and good afternoon, everybody. We're here for one more session of the Grandma's March event 2024, and this is the fourth year that we've been with this program already with this event. And today we have Helen Lindmark, which is such a pleasure. My first time that I'm connecting with her, we have been like emailing back and forward trying to make this happen,
Yeah.
and it happens for a reason. So I'm so happy to be here. And I know we recently got connected. Like, it's always magical for me. I was just telling her that every year is like, okay, I don't know who's gonna show up or who is gonna be here, but it's always like somebody that connects me to somebody. And recently, through a friend, Rebecca Salman, I know she asked a couple of her friends about, okay, can you connect us with some grandmothers, wisdom keepers out there? And that is how, I think their names are Sophie and Jessie.
Yeah.
Yes, right. And
Yes.
they are the ones that really connected us to with Helen. So I'm so happy to be here to make this happen. And the idea today is just for us to have a very informal chat. You, Helen, to just share your story with us. Like, the theme of the year, it is time to revive our roots and ask ourselves, what did we do once we knew? So yeah, this last piece is inspiring the poem of Drew Dellinger on what did you do once you knew, and asking ourselves, what are we gonna leave for the seven generations to come, knowing what is going on in the planet. And but before we leave something to the planet, it's important for us to understand where we come from and what our elders have taught us, and what is that wisdom that we all carry and we all bring. And I know you are very connected to that, to your land, to your elders, ancestors, your grandmother. So I'm very curious to understand your story, and where is that connection? How was that connection to your grandmothers, if you had some, or to your elders from your Sámi people? But before we start, I will do a brief introduction so everybody knows a little bit about Helen Lindmark. And she has a beautiful website now. We will be sharing here, helenlindmark.com. And it says here, and you will help me say the right word because I don't know, Mataraka or Mataraka
Yeah.
means great grandmother, Noid, wisdom keeper, and healer. So you are a wisdom keeper and a grandmother from the Sámi people, and I would love you to explain more about that. She walks with her knowledge as a voice from the Mother Earth, her people, and ancestral wisdom that is stored in her indigenous people lands. And she's mentoring the next generation of Sami community members, convening and speaking on behalf of her people around the world. So all her journey began in
Yes.
Likavara, south of Galivar in the northern Swedish Sápmi. That is a village that was erased due to mining exploitation. Yeah, it's important to understand that story. And as a child, she had a rich inner world. She received many visions, sensations, and messages. She grew up with a close friendship with nature, surrounded by wisdom from the elders. And her origin in wisdom and spiritual shamanic healing come from her parents. So she has a background in the social sector with extensive experience in psychiatric trauma care, with extensive experience in investigation and treatment. So welcome, Helen. We'll have a website, whoever wants to know more about and connect with her, and we can share that at the end too. But yeah, let's start with your reviving your roots. Tell us your story about your people, your land, and that connection to your elders.
Thank you, Monica. So I come from a little village that is 83 kilometers above the Arctic Circle.
Mm.
A very small village where my grandmother was the soul of the village.
Mm.
And my grandfather, he was the healer, and the gift has been flowing through generation after generation in my family, both on my mother's and father's side. So I was very gifted. I was before 3 years old when the first time I had a beautiful meeting with the spirit world, and the connection to the nature has always been there. I would say to in a way to another beautiful world that is living within us, that we today are disconnected from.
Mm.
And so I grew up in a family with two siblings, with my mother and father,
Mm.
but in the house with my grandmother and grandfather. So when my grandfather, he was we never talked about what it means to carry a call or a gift, or to be able to heal, or it was something that was not so complicated. It was simple. We never expressed it in the house. People come to our house and they were sick and they were well when they went. Because there was also another part, there was so many collective trauma from colonialism, there was from religion, both from Christianity and Lesbianism, and also there were layers of fear in that, but also there were the lineage up there in the north are so because we are a nomadic people. So I also have I grew up in a home where it was a little bit in between the Sámi, the Kwan people, the Finnish people, and also the Swedish. So it was kind of a very, in a way, a house, but in a way, a non-cultural house with many. And the thing was that there was so many. There was a kind of a silence had a larger space in my home than words had. When I was very, very little, I was taught that not misuse the words, don't abuse the words. Choose your words very wisely because they are having an extremely strong power. What you express out, what you're talking about, how you talk about other people, or what you're wishing, and things like that. So in a way, when the spirit world entered me, it entered a world of fear, because my mother had a lot of fear of this, because she was raised very hard with the religion, and so it becomes my own retreat with my grandmother. I spend the most of time with her, being with her, just seeing her in her appearance, in her energy, healing so many people by being. And she also always said, Helen, please never put people on a pedestal or think that they are more than you. And always have an open heart, an open door, even if whatever is coming and knocking on the door, give them a blanket, give them a cup of coffee or a food or a sleep or whatever. That is the importance of life, to be having the grandmother, the open heart. So I lived and took care of her, and was very, very close to her. But I lost my grandfather when I was 3 years old, and that was a space of emptiness, because today, when I'm an adult and doing what I'm doing, I understand that his appearance in my life was so much teachings for me, but beyond the words, just holding me, being with me, sitting with me. The integration was so strong during that time. But when I was 15 and I ended school, I felt I cannot stay. There was something that felt so much inside of me that I was silent. I didn't have the voice, and I didn't know what to do. So I I moved far away.
Mm.
And it was also in the same time I lost my grandmother. So it becomes a very kind of a hard time for me, but I felt I needed to go away. I needed to understand the world because there were so many unspoken words in our home. There were so many secrets. There was so much happening that you cannot integrate if no one is explaining for you when you are a child. So it became so many question marks inside of me. And I became an extreme good observer and listener and trying to adjust and see how to be in life, how to live. So I became a mother very young. I was 20 years old when I had my first son. I have 4 sons and 2 grandchildren today. and and I did a career in working in healthcare from children to elder to people with disabilities to psychiatry and social sector.
Mm.
And the thing was that but always this door of what is beyond. I tried to find it to going to different mentors. I did different classes, but I never felt I was home in that. So 2007, I crashed. I had a heart attack, and all my life stopped. I thought I was living, but I was surviving. I thought I had a perfect life, with the work, with the children, but nothing was functioning in my life because I was not connected to myself. I was so far away from myself. So then I became in depression for 5 years, and because I lost my identity. Who is Helen? And I really wanted to go back to that woman before the day this happened, but there were no return. So and the biggest loss, what I felt was that I loved my work. I love to bridge people. I love to give them tools in psychiatry. I love them to see them grow, to give them wings. And I was good at that. And I really felt for the first time in my life, I had come home to work, that I really felt that I was planting seeds in humanity. And then one day everything was stopping, everything was empty. So then I had a dialogue with myself and I said, my father, remember that this is your education. You can do whatever you like with it. So why don't you weave it in to who you are?
Mm.
But in a way, I was raised also in a family where you have to have a proof, because this is what the society is demanding for. You have a proof that you are a healer, or you have a proof that you are a medium and can talk to spirits or whatever. So I remember the day, because we had been into Gällivare, me and my father, and I said to him, I have signed in for a 1-year class to be a medium. And then he stopped the car and he said, no, you're not going to do that. And I said, yes, because I need it, because people are questioning me. How can I know? How do you know? And I cannot explain how I know. It's kind of living inside of me, and it's not me. It's the instrument. It's me as a channel from my ancestry. So he said that you have to come back to your roots.
Mm.
And I said, I don't know how. And he said, it starts with deeply listening. So he says, you have to go out in the forest. So I came home and he said, just go out in the forest and just be and listen. And day after day, I came home and I said, I don't understand. What am I going to hear? And he said, but Helen, you are not listening. And my father is a very calm, silent man. He speaks with his whole appearance. And he said, it's about a deeply listening. And I said, I don't know how to do it. I cannot do this. After 2.5 weeks, I met a female moose in the forest. I was just, 2 meters from her. And I looked up, I saw her big eyes, and I was looking in the eyes. and I was breathing, and then something, a connection that I cannot, hit me. It was kind of, I felt the whole vibration of the nature of the forest, of the trees. It was like everything was shaking, vibrating, and I felt that frequency. And then when I came home, my father said, finally, you're coming home now. And and then I said to him, I need a mentor, I need a teacher, you have to teach me. And he said, I don't have to teach you. They will teach you. You just have to listen. And you have to trust, because you will know exactly what to do when you come in different situations. You can try, Helen, to understand how you know, but then it will fade out. You have to trust. This is a knowing from your ancestry. It's a knowing from your land. And it's beyond every word, every book. It is to really to listen deep into the ancestry. So then another journey, another page in my life started that was so enormous big in a way. It's kind of you opening the global, the 7 generations that has been walking on this earth, to have the access to that. And so for long time, before I went out with it, I was living in so many worlds at the same day. It was kind of no in between for me. It was kind of, and to really my father said, you have to let it be like this, because it is for it, everything has to come in place within you, because you have opened the source now, and they are happy that you have finally understood. So everyone wants to speak. Everyone wants to be a part of your journey.
I love it. Too many.
Too many. So you just have to let it be. You have to just to be with it. And so my first journey that I did my drum, and I don't remember what year it was. And the drum is kind of, for me, a very sacred tool and medicine for me. But it didn't resonate with me. It didn't play with me. And then my grandmother came in the dreams, and she said, Helen, you have to build a relationship to the drum. It's your ally. You have to build a relationship. This is nothing you can learn. When you have built a relationship, it will be there for you. So by doing that, and also finding, walking a cluster of paths, looking into all my 4 lineage. Where do I come from? Who am I? What is my family? What is my ancestors? What is the lineage behind in I have looked in every lineage to 1500 of where we come from, and my grandfather on my father's side, he came from Russia, from Archangels. That's the island where Archangel Michael battled Lucifer. Yeah, and my grandfather on my father's side, on my mother's side, he came from Uleåborg. He was a bishop in the 1600, late 1500, beginning of 1600. And he was also, I live in Härnösand in Sweden, where it's one of the places where many of the witch burnings happened. And I ended up here, and he was here in the 1600, a part of that movement. And that has really very recently come to my notice that it was like that. So I did that, because also in the tradition of my culture, you have to, the cult is a very sacred item. We have different cults for different occasions. So to carry it, you have to know your lineage. You have to know your ancestry, because every ribbon, every string on it has its pattern. So 2021, maybe, I get my first cold. And in the 2019, I fully dedicated to do what I'm doing. But what was so present in me was that all over the world, they were talking about indigenous people far, far away. And I felt that they were so silent about up in the Nordic, in the Arctic Circle, where my ancestry came from. And I felt
True.
I want to, we are all facing the same pattern of colonialism, of war, of abuse, of structural violence. But we come from different parts of the world. And for me, it was very important to bring in that voice that this is the pain that's happening in my ancestral land. And in this movement from 2018, 2019, the mine was coming more and more close to our property, and they bought up more and more land. No one else was able to bought it, to build families there. And what we saw also, that since they starting to test drilling for seeing how much minerals are there in the land, the forest slowly died. The berries were less in the forest. You could see the animal life became less. And then the day came there where they they said that if we're not going to sell, it will be going to the government, and we will not have the payment for the house. And so my father, he sold with a, how can I say, he describes today that he's trying to live, but his life is like a prison, to living in an apartment. He never lived in an apartment. During 2022, I went the indigenous school for indigenous women through FEMI. And in the same time, I was, my father was sick, did a very complicated operation, so I was taking care of him. I studied with FEMI, and together with another Sámi sister, and in the same time, the movement of the destruction of the village was moving very fast. So I was home, and because I have done a documentary with a woman, we have gonna put it together. She has filmed me, my family, my father interviewed. He's been walking in the land before it really started, and when it was just when the house was gone. So and this is so hard to describe, because I remember, I think it was the 23rd of May, and I said to my father, we were going to the village, and they put number 24 on our house, and they put number 24 on the big pine that been my really, how can I say, one of my best friend's trees from when I was a child. And to walk there and feeling so much confusion from the ancestry who've been walking there, so much, and also so many of them saying, we will not move, we will stay, and they're gonna see they will not succeed with this. So many of the ones who have lived there before. And 2 days later, he calls me, and then the house is gone. And it was, I can say, it's something that is so hard. I never imagined I I mean, you can listen to stories of people who lose their land, their roots, and maybe never been connected to the land. But when you've been so connected, as my family has been, and lived there for generations, and suddenly everything is gone, it affected our whole family. I became sick. My father had became sick. My aunts also had some effects of it, because when you are, we have our ancestry is also, they are there for us. They never leave us, and they are there for giving us support, giving us teachings. But when they take our land, they take all that with them. They cut everything of that off. And I was there with the filmer and did ceremony, healing ceremony and gratitude ceremony. And it was so much pain. It was so much pain. I cannot really describe it, because it's kind of an emptiness that enters you, and suddenly you know who you are, but in a way there's something missing. And that is really a feeling that is so strong in me. I will never be able to take my grandchildren there, to allow them to connect really deeply, play on the ground. I will never be able to take them to the land, because now the village is totally closed, and it will be open mining for copper and gold. And it will be an open mining for copper and gold for 10 years. And the thing is that when I travel globally in different conferences, and in, for example, COP or other conferences, we're talking about security, water security, earth security. But for security, for me, is something totally different. Because when you're living so close to these big machines, the only thing they want is to secure the resources, the minerals, and they go fast, even if they don't need them in 10 years. They just want to pick it up so no one else. But what they don't understand is that we are one with the land. So when they are destructing our land, the destruction is there. They also taking away the source of what the land is holding us. The mineral is giving us health, is holding us. So that's kind of also something that you could see really, because when they're starting the test drilling, everything start to be less, it didn't grow in the same way. You couldn't plant in the same way like potatoes or anything in the village, because they destroyed the ground structure of the water, the groundwater. So it's really, for me, it's really, my father, he find a way to survive, but he says he has not he has no life today. He has a life when he can go to the mountains and be in the cabin, but during the winter time he feels totally prisonized. And I think we are all carrying memories. We all have stored memories inside of us. We all carry wisdom. We all have original structures in us. Some are more disconnected. Some of the humanity are disconnected because they've never been connected, and not even the generations back was connected. So that's the difference. So it's so important to talk about this, to bring awareness of that. What are we talking about? Disconnection or reconnecting? What is it? Because if you never, since maybe in the fifth generation, then they were connected, and then it started to fade it out. So the disconnection is a normal state in among humanity. But I say that, it for me, everything is about listening. And I don't mean, for the sounds. It's a listening into the vibration of your own or your own heart or breath or water or blood or bone structure, to listen here, because that is our body is the deepest connection to our ancestry, because
Mm.
we are the earth, so we are a reflection of her. And during the COVID pandemic, I had COVID very bad, and I've been much in service, running all over, but I'm very bad of taking care of myself. Very bad. That's the worst. But she came during one of the state when I was very, very sick, and she said, "My child, Helen, why are you running? You cannot be in service if you not take care of yourself."
True.
And I think that is the biggest message she wants to give to humanity, to deeply listening inside of yourself. How are you feeling, really? And be honest and true to yourself. Because we talk about trust, but when we have lost the trust in with us, the trust in the outside world is not there, because everything begins with our own connection. That's why it's so important to talk about returning back to the roots, to your own ancestry, and really looking into and listening into the knowing beyond the knowing. How do we know things, for example? How do we have skills? It comes from the ancestors. Some people are extremely good at doing handcraft, doodle. Some people are extremely good at language or food or whatever. And it comes. We are born with it. It's coming from our ancestry. But what's now I see in the world is emerging is that the collective ancestry is also holding a lot of collective trauma that wants to be healed, that wants to be acknowledged and seen, but it also wants to know that we can stand and trust and walk grounded and in tune with ourselves. Because this is also, when we're talking about collective trauma, is to ask ourselves, where is the voice coming from? For I can talk with a voice very deep from my ancestry, very clear from a time when the colonialism was very activated. I can talk from a piece from my heart. I can talk from the mind. I can talk from the ego. But in the present time, it's so important to acknowledge the collective and to give that healing and peace. So we can come in peace within ourselves. Because for me, my grandmother, she's walking with me every day. She's coming, she's coming, and we have so many conversations, and she knows directly when I am, because I'm a human being. I also can go off track. I am tired or whatever, or I stop listening and then I get sick. That's kind of that's so it's really,
That's how you know.
that's how I know exactly. And I think that's also what we are taught, is that if we are not listening to the ancestry, we are there for listening to the ones who walked before us. We are there to listen to the ancestral lands, but we also dare to listen to the water and the mountains, because everything is a living being for us. And also to the animals. The footprint of the animals are very, very important to listen to. And also to take in that if we look at the animals, we should study them more. This is a message from them. See how they are living and how they are taking care of their community, their families. So that's a little part of my story.
Just a little part. Wow, Helen, I was here just like, oh my God, this is amazing story, and it's so deeply also sad the reality that is happening. I got really emotional when you were talking about the land and how you lost the land and the house and your home,
Mm,
and being from this side of the world, and especially coming from Latin America or South America, this is very common to happen there, because there's
mm,
always, colonization. That's what they did to our native people. And until
mm,
today, we don't value the indigenous people in Latin America. And that's, we don't respect the land. All these multinational companies come and they just destroy everything, and they don't care. They just move them from place to place because they just don't know any better, and they don't respect, that the importance of being in the land. But I never thought in the first world, as we call it in this system, that will happen. And this is very recent, and it's just like I cannot believe it, and it's happening. And there is so much that this world has to awake, because it's, yeah, well, I would have thought now this is never going to happen, in a place like Sweden. People are more awake, but
yeah.
no.
Yeah, and on our property, because we lived in the old school in the village, and my grandmother was kind of the soul of the village. So we had kind of the post, people come, and also the telegraph, and if the people were sick, they come to be healed. So it kind of was a midpoint where everyone came. And I grew up with, my father has many siblings, very family. A lot of, always we were gathered together, and all this. I was always so intrigued and impressed of this, especially two person that went to my grandmother, and I listened to this old man, and also all the stories about my grandfather, who he could move over time, and also how they could move over time, which I experienced and seen many times, that they were in one part of the village, and then suddenly I saw them in another part, and they had no, they were so long distance to move, that so that fast no one moves. But that was kind of this reality. And but it and recently I experienced, you know, that is the interesting part. I everything is have everything is about me being tuned with myself and trust. And if I need guidance, I ask for guidance from my grandmother and my grandfathers. But recently, last year, um, one of my family members were rather sick, and I just tapped into that. And then I realized in the consciousness I can do the same, that like grandfather did, that I can move over time, even to be in the present time there, that I can be there and do what is needed to help the person and then come back into the space. And I think the traditional healing, I was recently interviewed by a quant physics person about traditional Sámi healing. And the traditional Sámi healing is in my hands, but it's also so connected in my alignment with nature, that, but I, that alignment I didn't have my whole life. I, until I crashed, I had blocked it, until the day I had this meeting with this enormous, beautiful woman in the forest. It take away the walls, and suddenly the world became so much bigger. And today I see they live in physic persons this reality, this life, but in spirit they are always with me. as living as they were when they were alive. But also that there's a difference to having that knowledge through the lineage. But then when we go to the land, then you have another connection that is connected to the roots of the land, how it was before the village were coming there from. Was it water? Was it land? Was it mountain? So that's the deepest, that's another connection. I would describe that always when I travel, I always present myself to the land wherever I come, who I am, that I come in peace, and I want to, I come in peace, and I want to send my love and blessings to the ones who walked here before, and I'm here for listening. I'm not here for saying, or I'm not expecting anything. I'm here in service and support for your land. And I think that balance is so important today, that this storytelling is weaving so much it's a weaving of understanding, it's a weaving of integration for the common generations to feel it and embody it. Because through the story, and especially when you gather people around the fire, you tell the stories, you hold a sacred circle, and then you create a sacred room where they allows to reconnect. And I think that is so important, because what humanity today longing for, and also why they're running and the destruction is so big, is because they're so empty in the inside. There's just like shells, robots going on and hunting whatever that is gone, that you logical can take on. But you cannot Google wisdom. You cannot. Wisdom is something that is beyond all realms, beyond the words. It's something that is a knowing beyond the knowing. And I had a dialogue with a school in India about wisdom. They were young girls from 9 to maybe 15, and some boys. And then I said to them, have you ever felt something and you don't know where it comes from? And then they were very shy, and then the girl said, yes, I have. And I said, that is wisdom. That's the knowing beyond the knowing. Because what we need is today to come with curiosity and inspiration, happiness, joyfulness. It's so important to bring in that. So we come in with a light energy, because the ancestry it's heavy, it's suffered so much in generations, and they don't want us to suffer. They want us to be strong and to walk and to share and to hold. So what you are doing is, I have to say, is fantastic, because this is so important. The stories are so important, and also the weaving of them together, how different parts of the global earth are bringing in the knowledge from the ancestry, and how important it is to acknowledge it, because it is. So thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for being present, for sharing all your wisdom and knowledge and all that you bring from your ancestors. And my question is, and I even saw in your bio on your website, is one of the work of you're doing is mentoring that new generation of the Sámi people, of your community. And how do you think we can bring all this to the new generation? Because that has been my question, because I usually see people my generation, older than me, elders, very very connected to this. But the new generations, despite they are in the virtual world, they can get very distracted with all the great things for them that are that they have
Yeah.
in social media and everything that is going on. And so it's hard for me to see. And for example, this year I tried to invite, and I have two young, very wise women that are going to participate next week in a session because I want to hear from them. And, it's like, how are you getting connected to this? Or how come you are now working with this? Because the work that they do is inspired some way in ancestral wisdom, or because they inspire through their grandmothers or parents. But that's what I find most challenging. How can we bring this to those new generations? Yeah.
I think one part that is very important is that to make them curious and inspired, to embark them with question, give them gifts of question. How do they see the future in the coming years?
Mm.
What is nature for them? And even like asking, I sometimes ask, how do your water feel today? And they look like, what?
What?
Yeah, but that, yeah, but how do your water feel today? Because this water is holding you alive, and it has been there since you were in your mother's womb. Is that you have been born with a unique frequency, and how is that frequency vibrating in you? Because that frequency is a regulator of emotion. So if you so because the young generation today, they are so distracted, but they are also so disconnected, and they are so afraid to go outside the frame. They are so afraid to go outside the community, or because they have they need to take on something to have a belonging, because in the family, in the core family, in the old days, there was another family system. In today's life, family system is not held in the same way, so they are not know what it means to be having a belonging to something. They feel that they are lost, they feel that they're sad, they don't know how to express it. That's why we have so many young people in mental health care, because they don't know, and they feel like if they are going outside of these boxes, they lose themselves. It's like going in pieces. I have heard them people, some are describing it like it kind of, they fragment out. They are not even in the body together. It's everything feels so fragile, and so one part is to get them engaged and inspired. What are you curious about your grandmother? What do you know about her? Who was she? And what do you have any memories? And if they don't even have met her, are you not curious, to be inspired of who she was, what food she liked, what did she cook, what was her dress, did she knitting or doing handcraft, did she plant? And yes, this, but not telling them what to do, because you are not reaching them when you are telling them what to do. So you have to go the other way by giving question, so they can from themselves awaken a new question from that question. Then you have planted the seed in with them. And even if you are, I did a circle with youth from Israel, and some of them never sitting by the fire. It was very interesting because I told my story, and one of the boys, he ran after me before I was going there, and he said, Oh, grandmother Helen, can you help me not to fail? And then I looked at him and he said, yeah, because you are grandmother Helen, you have never failed. And I said, my dear, I have failed 1,000 times. And you know, every failure, if we call it a failure or mistake, has its golden seeds. Everything that we go through is a teaching. So we are the teacher and the student during life, during meetings. So even not only with humanity, with nature also. So I think a way of engaging these young people is to awakening with a question and invite them to different circles and to weave and to allow them to share. But also, I sometimes tell the story of I have 4 sons and they're all adults today. And I had 2 dysfunctional relationship in my life, which comes also from our generations, that we are very good of taking care, but not taking care of ourselves. So I traumatized them, all 4 of them, and I have no problem to talk today about it because we have talked, we have healed that in my family. But the thing is that they are how they are living, how they are integrating with girlfriends or friends are coming from a mirror from me. I am the mirror for them. So for me, it was so important. And first it was like, but you cannot say like that. Don't take the guilt on your mother. But I said, I'm not taking, it's not about guilt. It's about understanding. It's not about, blaming anyone. It's not about that. It's about to see the patterns that has been moving in generation. And I have carried on the destructive collective trauma pattern in my family. But I want it to end with me now. I want my grandchildren to have new circles on the water, to find new inspiration ways of living. But that doesn't mean that I don't want them to know about their ancestry, that I don't know. I want to know them where they come from, but I also want to create understanding for them that we are not born evil. It's not about that. It's that when we have the ancestry is forming our life, so the collective is forming our how we are living, how we think that this is the life. And if we don't give the tools, and maybe often my parents didn't have the tools, and my grandparents didn't have the tools, and then we can go another generation back. So it's so important to take away this, because I work a lot with deep trauma healing, and it's all about creating and understanding what is the source of the pain. Is it coming from you, or is coming deep from your ancestry? And when we have that understanding, then we can let it go and we can give it the healing it's needed, and we can give it peace, and we can acknowledge and give love to ourselves and also to that. So it's more about that, really, to find that, to coming home to yourself. That is a journey of layers where we can look into the 7 common generation. Where will we go? What will be the 7 generation of different prophecies? But it's also important to look into the ancestry of the 7 generations. How was the life? Was it a life of total destruction? That is what will flow in your blood. That is what will flow in your water. So As a grandmother, for me, it's very important to hold the sacred circles and allow people to have a voice. And even just to be, but you are given the opportunity to have the voice. You can say, I just want to listen, and that's okay. But when you are sitting in a circle together, something magical happening in that movement, in that trust, because you're creating a sacred space, a sacred room with trust. And then that gives so much collective healing. But the collective healing is also to meet other people who are being in the same appearance that you are, because we think we are alone, but we are not. And I think that is this. If I look at the common generation for the Sámi, is to inspire them to have the tongue language, inspire them to look into the food and to the abilities to heal, and how did they live the life, because we are living life as after the 8 seasons, and every season in between is the most important season, because that is the preparation. We are living life by reading the nature to know how to move in the nomadic way. So it's kind of, and I think that to help this, because so many of the young generation has so many emotions inside, so much anger, so much sadness, so much anxiety, depression, and to help them to look into that, how much of that it is really the answer, the collective that really emerging wants to be healed, because they are born in another time than we and me. They are born in another time, and this time the children that are coming now, they are so high connected.
Yeah.
It's such a difference. I see it on my granddaughter. She's so aware. She's so connected, but she's so sensitive for everything that is unnecessary noise outside.
Mm.
So I think that what you're saying is that it's very important to bring in young, but also to inspire them to
Mm.
share what do they see, what do they see is needed, what are they longing for to know about the legacy of the lineage, and many more and more young people are opening that path, want to come home. And the colonization took so much, it cuts off so many strings, so it damaged so much, and also the Lestadianismen up in the north, because they were forced, many of from they took the children from the Sami communities and forced them to be a part of the church, or educated them there, and all this. So this is blueprint we have with us. And then we can think, why didn't the parents that are parents to this young generation, why didn't they act? But they are also raised in another world where one day we had access to everything, and suddenly, how many families are sitting and gathering and eating dinner today together with the children?
Mm.
It's really, and that is something that is very strict and holy in my family.
I love it.
Because that, but my children love it because it's so precious. So even if I have meetings, I have one son home at home now. He's moving soon, but he he want us to eat together. That's the special moment. And many people say, when you talk, I often talk about ceremony. What is really ceremony? You and me having a ceremony, sitting and sharing about this. It's a sacred space where we are weaving together.
It is true. Wow. And it starts from there, like
Yeah,
kids. Yeah, it starts from there, because that's almost like you're saying, as a ritual. It's a
yeah,
ceremony.
yeah,
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 that's sharing the food, sharing the
yeah,
words,
yeah,
sharing love. Yeah,
yeah,
the caring for each other. But
yeah,
today you don't see that in families. Like, yeah, everybody's, one is watching TV, the other one is, I don't know, wherever, eating alone. And so
yeah,
you got disconnected even from the most simple way that could be.
yeah.
Mm,
It's really, so it's really something that I think, and the young generation are longing for this.
yeah,
They are really longing for this, but they don't really know if it's allowed, or should we be out there somewhere, everywhere, nowhere. So it's kind of so to bring back the circles, to bring back the sacred rooms, to share, to, even if you are online, but to have, an open source where they can tap into and listen to the storytelling during different themes, and just being there for them. And it's such a richness, it's such a gift to listen to them.
it is.
It is really.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
I know, you learn so much. I don't have kids, but I have two nephews. They are
Yeah,
11 and 8. And
yeah,
that's my favorite thing in the world, just being with these two kids, talking. Like, I become another 10-year-old with them, because it's just like, of course I want to pass my wisdom, but it's just being with them, listening, and just
yeah,
being in presence and making them feel comfortable and sharing. They ask questions and they want to know things. It's so amazing. It is. But you just have to be present and be there. Yeah.
yeah. I have, I've been traveling a lot, and I've been very sick. And my father, he says that I have been sometimes saying, why is everything happening to me? And he always say, Helen, it's a preparation for the common time that will come. But then I broke my ankle bone. I was at the Kiva ceremony,
Mm.
it's a 4-day ceremony in Germany, and I did an interview, and 5 seconds I broke. After 5 seconds after that, I broke my ankle bone, and I have been convalescent for 6 months in my home now with that, and it's still not healed, and I need to do the third operation. But when I came home, my youngest son said, Mother, now I want you to listen. If you don't start to take care of yourself, I will not have a mother. And that touched my heart. And that's true.
It is true.
It's true. So now when he not take, I say to him, you have to care for yourself, because I want you to be my son for a very, very long time.
Mm. Oh, beautiful.
I think it's important to remember that it's not egoistic to care, to nurture yourself, to fill yourself what you need, to strengthen
Mm-mm.
yourself. But we are living in a world when you do that, it's kind of, that's also what the young generation are facing a lot. All these different frames, how to be, and if they are tapping into their own uniqueness they get outside because they are different.
Mm, it's true.
Hmm.
And the role models that they are seeing are not what they should be following. So yeah, these kids really know something. They came with another awareness, and
Yeah.
it's good that they sometimes not. They don't want to follow the same path. They just want to go on their own and do it different. So we need that.
Yeah, we need that. Really, we need
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
what you are doing now, the topic is fantastic. It's so needed.
It is. It is really. These stories are amazing, and it's so needed. Yeah. And I'm so happy that you're being part of this. Yeah, that your story is getting out there. Your ancestors are getting out there, and all that wisdom. And that's the idea. So
Yeah.
I can thank you enough.
Yeah.
This is so amazing. I can stay here forever with you. Weaving and talking. I'm just seeing the time. It's like we've been here 1 hour already. Oh
Yeah,
my
we're done.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
It's late for you. For me, it's like
Oh,
I'm good. So, oh
yeah.
yeah, you need to rest. I know you just came from another one, another podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was 3.5 an hour, so that was a little bit longer. But it
Oh,
was okay.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
I,
Oh,
th- I think that
so
we had I think in my ancestry we see life as a tree. That also that is kind of a memory when I connect people to the roots, that
mm,
to really to breathe in to the land of the roots and feeling that you have roots growing out of your feet and feeling that the body is the trunk, the stem of the tree, and the branches, the crown is all the universal cosmic connection, and that's the growth of life. And to really to sometimes it's much easier to tap into a metaphor.
it is true.
Yeah. So I'm very blessed to have been here with you tonight.
Oh.
I feel very blessed.
And I'm so happy now that you're saying about the tree. We're sitting in the roots of the tree that is
Yeah.
behind us. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely the idea. And I guess I just want to end with bringing back the question. You came from all your ancestors and your village and your people and the story of your grandparents and your parents and how you went into the world and you crashed at some point and you got reconnected to those roots
Yeah.
because you were able to really listen deeply and
Yeah.
find that moose in the forest and feel the nature, feel the earth, and reconnect again and bringing back all that wisdom. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the legacy that you're leaving and is you're really doing what did you do once you knew because you knew it, you saw it, you felt it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're
And this
feeling.
knowing, I think that sometimes we not acknowledge when we just know things, then we don't listen because we want to take on it. That's why the deeply listening is so important, to acknowledge that what is really happening within me and reconnect to that is bringing your home, coming home to yourself, and then you can reconnect to your ancestry
Mm.
because they are there. They never leave you. They are holding you, they are supporting you, and the only thing they want is to you to be safe and secured and beloved on this earth and to have a belonging to a family. And today I think the global family is there are no difference between families. I have so many families all over the world. But it's so beautiful. I have a family and I have many global families. But now all the global families, and that's very interesting, are weaving in together into each other. And that is beautiful to see and to be a part of.
Oh, I love it. And that's why I wanna, if you can help us put your website again, because really call everybody to, look for Helen for your
Yeah,
mentoring, your offerings, all the work, amazing, beautiful work that you're doing,
yeah,
because people need to know it more. So that's the
yeah.
best
And
way to find you, Helen.
that's the best way to find me, or find me through my email. That is
Uh-huh.
sapmi.pathfinder@gmail.com. Because now my website, something happened tonight, it's disappeared. So I
Hmm.
have to, I don't know, because it's not me who done it. I done all the work on it, of course, all text, everything, but now it's gone. So, but you can reach me to the contact formula that's there, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, but email is the best part,
Amen.
or contact form, because the contact form I get message that I receive, that I have a message. So
Let me put it here. Maybe Turi can help us copy and
yeah, that's
that's it,
beautiful.
right?
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Let's
I'm so
see.
happy that we did this tonight.
I know, me too. I can't believe it. I was like, okay, I'm done for the day. When you show, it's like, no, I'm gonna do it. I really want to listen to this story. There you go. So stop
Oh,
me,
beautiful.
pathfinder at
Yes.
gmail.com.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So yeah, very soon we will be publishing this in our YouTube channel and on Facebook, and I will share it with you so everybody get to know out there about your work.
Oh,
And
wow.
it is my pleasure to be here tonight. Really, thank you for joining. Thank you for opening your heart, sharing your wisdom and your story. And I hope this is one of many others that we can, get together, weave together. This has been a
Yeah.
weave amazing. Yeah, I would love to. Yes.
Yeah, me too. I really like that you're bringing in the grandmother, because the grandmother is to really to, because in this world for indigenous women, it's not so easy to find identity, to find the role of what is the role in the society today. And there's so much, beyond that is happening when we look into that. So I'm really going to start to follow you and see what's happening around you. Beautiful.
Oh, I love you. Ah, thank you so much. And I love what you're bringing, because I think this is two sides of the work that I'm doing. Is my concern with those new generations, but what about the women, the wise women that are out there today that are grandmothers, and how can I inspire them? Some women are afraid of being grandmothers, or of aging, and what does this mean for me? And I think it is a beautiful stage of life, and there's so much that you can,
Yeah.
bring out there into the world. So much wisdom you can pass, your traditions, your everything, and do it in such a fun way and playful way,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
right, and enjoy it. That, yeah, I hope this inspires many. And you're being part of this already, so I love it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for today.
Oh, thank you so much. I wish I
Thank
was
you.
there in Sweden to hug you. Really, it's like,
Who knows?
I
We might
know.
meet each other.
I know, right? Yes. Welcome to the US anytime. And I would love if I go someday to. I've been to Sweden actually many years
You'll
ago,
be.
but
Oh,
yes,
wow.
yes, yes. Yeah, I have a very good friend from there. And I went to visit him. That was in 1998, actually.
Oh,
And yeah, so I went to Stockholm, and I went to a small city where he used to study, that called John. I don't know how to say John Shopping, John. Um,
Jönköping. Yes.
yes, 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 yes. So yeah, yep.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, if you ever come to Sweden, you are welcome to me.
Oh, thank you. Same here. Yes. I would
So
love
thank you.
that. Thank you so much. Okay, and
Thank you.
everybody,
Yeah.
thank you. Have an amazing night and evening.